a passage, though, just to get us started, here in Hebrews 3, beginning in verse 12. The author of Hebrews writes, "Take care, brothers, lest there be in any of you an evil, unbelieving heart, leading you to fall away from the living God. But exhort one another every day, as long as it is called today, that none of you may be hardened by the deceitfulness of sin." Verse 14 in particular. "For we have come to share in Christ, if indeed we hold our original confidence firm to the end. As it is said, today, if you hear his voice, do not harden your hearts, as in the rebellion." We see there in verse 14 of Hebrews chapter 3, it makes it very clear that we share in Christ if we hold our original confession to the end. Now, something to notice here is that that is a condition. That is a condition. We share in Christ if we hold on to the faith, our original confidence, firm to the end. So the idea of conditional security makes sense if we define it as this: your salvation is dependent on enduring to the end. But doesn't this destroy the doctrine of eternal security? Doesn't this destroy the doctrine of once saved, always saved? Well, no. John Piper, I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with him. He's been very helpful with me this week on this teaching. He teaches a doctrine of salvation that goes like this: we are elected and therefore justified unconditionally. We were saved by faith, not of works, lest any man should boast. We're saved by grace. But then he says that he believes in what he calls conditional glorification. That certain conditions must be met, in particular, continued faithfulness until the end, if we are to be glorified. Now, doesn't that mean that he believes that it's possible to fall away? If he's saying that we're saved by grace, it's by faith, it's unconditional. But then if you're going to make glorification, it's conditional. That involves something. There's conditions attached. Doesn't that mean that he believes that you can fall away from grace? Well, Piper says no. And he asks this great question. I think this question is so helpful. He asks this question like this: what makes us think that just because something is conditional, that it can't also be certain? That is a great question. That is so helpful. Just because something is conditional doesn't mean it's not certain. He's saying that those whom God has truly saved will inevitably persevere in faith and holiness until the end, meaning that they will meet the conditions. It's certain. Just because there's conditions, it doesn't mean that it's not certain. What does Philippians 1:6 say? He who began a good work in you will complete it until the day of Jesus Christ. God began the work, so he promises to complete it in us.